So now I'm working with the new image, and you can see that the file name has changed here. And what I'm going to do is now go up and in the window menu, open up history. This is where all your palettes are. And if you can't find one of these palettes on the side, you can always go to the window menu, and if it's checked off, it should be open. And if you can't find it, just uncheck it. You'll see it go away, and then recheck it. And there it is. So here we can do anything to this image, and if we don't like what we've done, we can always go back in time, basically. And that's why they call it a history button. Okay, problems with this image. Composition's okay. It's centered. I know what I'm supposed to be looking at. Even though there's this guy here, doesn't really seem to be part of our picture. It puts the whole image in perspective to have him there. We also have visual repetition. Here we have this street lamp. We see it 2-3 times. So we know about how far away we are from the image, or from the structure, sorry, that's in the image. However, we have a glare here. Obviously, we're looking up into the sun, and maybe we weren't using the right photo setting. So we can make some adjustments to that. And like I said, everything that you're going to do is within the image menu. We've already changed the image size. Here you have auto color, auto contrast, and auto tone. And you can try any one of these at first. I recommend starting there. And you can see it changed the contrast a little bit, but not really a whole lot, and it didn't really solve the problem of glare up top here. So I'm going to go back to image size. I'll try the next one here, auto color. Didn't really change it either. And sometimes this will be perfect for what you're working with. Say you're taking a photograph under a really yellow light source and you want to change the color. Auto color works great for that. But I suspect here we're going to need to change the curves. Within these adjustments, there are micro adjustments. You can invert, posterize, you can do photo filters, you can make it black and white, you can actually balance the color yourself. If you feel it's too blue, you can add a color to it to change that blueness. Hue and saturation, of course, but I'm suspecting that we're going to be needing to use curves. That's why I picked this image, actually. Okay, this little histogram tells us that, yes, we are in red, green, blue color profile, which is perfect for the screen. That's what we're looking at. This little line here, you can set points on. And I'm just going to set one point by clicking on it, and then you can drag it around. And you see what it does. It actually puts too much exposure on one end and not enough on the other. So I can slide this around and change that. It's looking a little bit too dark down here, so I'm going to bring this back closer to where the original image was. And you can see the straight line represents what the image was before we started playing with the curves and balances. Up on the high end here, this is, as you can see, represented here by the output and input scales. This is all of your lights, and this side of the histogram represents all of your darks. So if I bring down the light here, see that the sky is grayed out, and here I'll exaggerate it quite a bit. It actually made the sky quite a bit darker, more than we need. We'll bring it back up, because we want it to still look like it's daytime. We just want to take a little bit of that glare out of there. And if I slide this up to kind of meet that curve, we're starting to lose a bunch of that glare. Now, unfortunately, you're not going to get rid of all of it. And you can always set new points, too, if you want to. And that might give you a better curve balance. You can see what I did. I once again corrected for it. There was too much lightness here. Okay, that's in my opinion, about as good as it's going to get. You could fuss with it all day long and get something that you feel is even better. But ultimately, it's taking the right shot and looking out for glare. But that's what Photoshop's for. We can fix some of these problems. I'm going to hit OK. Another tool we have to get rid of some glare is called the Dodge tool. Okay, and that's over here on the Tools palette. We're going to go through these tools in a little more depth later. We have the Dodge, Burn, and Sponge tool. The Burn tool is exactly what you think. It's going to maybe burn the image down. And if I can just kind of drag this tool right across, so you can see that it's darkened in, and if I really scribble all over the screen, you can see it almost looks like it burnishes the screen. I'm going to go back to the beginning of that burn tool, or maybe my curves here. What I want to do is just kind of get something that goes across these surfaces here and darkens them just a little bit. I'm going to select a slightly smaller brush because it looks like my brush is a bit big. Click here, and I can just drag the master diameter down to maybe 49, I don't know, maybe a little bit less. And then you just drag the, without clicking, your tool over here to see exactly how that worked out. And because we're burning something that's light next to dark, don't worry if it overhangs a little bit in this particular instance. You really just need to play around with these and see what works best. Over here you can also select from different types of brushes, but you know, in my opinion, for this tool, this is perfect right here. Okay, and we want to set the exposure maybe down a little bit more. I'm going to bring it down to 40%. And then my range, I want it to kind of hit on the highlights. So you hear, once again, like that curves histogram, you have the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows. And this is going to target my highlights. Okay, I'm going to come along here and just maybe 1 or 2 times drag along that edge. And this is the part where we lose definition, up here along this edge. And the reason I'm using such a low exposure is I don't want it to look like I'm actually burnishing it or photoshopping it. You want to just touch it up. The best photographs are ones that look like they haven't been messed with too much. Okay, like that. You can see there's a distinct difference here, so maybe I'll drag that over a little bit more, just so it's not so obvious to the viewer. Okay, let's look at this image in contrast to what it looked like when we first opened up and see if we like it. Actually, before I do that, I'm gonna burn this shadow area. It looks now like it's kind of a little bit dark in there, and you can see my burn tool went too far. So I'm gonna drop the exposure way down, 10%. And I'm just gonna fill this area in here. Okay, even that's a little bit too much, isn't it? Let's maybe go up in brush size, 72. Let's drop the exposure down a little bit more, 6%. And just take a little bit of that glare out of there. So now you just have a better image. It's just stronger. Click one more over there. Okay, I'm going to go back and check. This is up here in the history palette. This is where we are now. This is where we were when we opened it. So you can see it's looking a lot better. I could sit and fuss with this a little bit more, and you know, I encourage you to do that. Just play around with Photoshop and see what the results are. Once you get it to where you like it, you're going to want to go to File and Save. And that's it. And it saved that resized image. Our original image does not have these color corrections applied to it. And of course, if you want to have an image that's you know, color corrected and a large scale and then resized, you would do all of this, and then the last thing you would do is resize the image and save as. However, for our purposes, we just want a small image that we're going to post on Blackboard, and the image size, once again, to go here is 72, and we've unchecked resample. And if you want to, of course, you can always change the image size here, uncheck resample, hit 72, and we could say, oh, well, 3 inches is actually what we're looking for. However, within Blackboard, we do have the capability to scale it down. Remember, the key is you don't want to make an image larger. You always want to make it smaller. So if you start with your largest image, you'll always be right on. So